Hey, good to be with you all here. Obviously, a full week here of our signing day being today, as well as preparation for two games this weekend with two really tough opponents. So, practice is going to be important for us here as we kind of continue to prepare for this weekend, and obviously Robert Morris on Friday. Um, in relation to the recruiting class, obviously we're really excited about this group, and we are thrilled about the four guys that signed today and what they bring in terms of their versatility, their competitiveness, their skill sets. They're excited to be a part of what we're doing here, and it's been well documented that we are in the process of rebuilding our roster, and we're just really excited about adding these four to the group that we currently have. And this group's been a lot of fun to coach, and we're excited about adding these four guys to it. So.
Now, obviously, they have to play games and get here and get assimilated, but how do you ultimately hope your first full, I guess, recruiting class will be viewed one day?
You know, it it's hard to always project, down the road. It's an inexact science. We know this recruiting is, and anyone that would sit up here and say that they have it figured out is probably misguided. But what we feel like is these four guys bring a level of a skill set that's important, some skills that we were looking for, improving in some areas, shooting being one of them, and ball handling, and obviously guard play. And they have some versatility as well. And we have some other needs we will address in the future. I don't think it's not feasible, right? We're not going to address every need in your first recruiting class. So that's going to take some time. But I think these guys are going to bring a competitiveness. They're great kids and come from really good families, and will, I think, enjoy being here.
Class in 4 months. Now that they're all signed, what was that challenge, and how hard was that to hit the ground running and to sit here today and have four guys signed?
Well, there's no question there was an urgency to it for sure. I think once we were able to kind of take stock of where we were at, and that took a little bit. That took a couple weeks really to figure out where our roster was, where it was going to be potentially moving forward, what our needs were, without really, I hadn't watched us play, so I didn't have a great familiarity. I've mentioned this a couple times that this all of our guys that are here now are going to play a really important role, including our walk-ons. And I say that because they're Buckeyes, and they chose to be here, and that's what we're really excited about. I will also add that the 17 class, with Coach Mana and his staff recruiting Caleb, and then us adding Kyle and Musa, are very critical, because what you want to be in college basketball at times is a little bit older and experienced, and you feel the effects. The class that transferred out a couple years ago that would now be juniors, you feel the effects of that for a few years. So this 17 class was really critical. I take today, when we're talking about the 18 class, to just say that 17 class is pretty important as well.
Coach, when a new coach comes to a program, there's a lot of talk about waiting for his guys. What have you done this offseason to make the guys you have in your team this fall your kind of guys?
Well, I've never made the separation between my guys or Thad's guys. All of these guys are our guys now, okay? And I love and appreciate what each one of them brings. And there's not one guy that I wouldn't look at and say I wouldn't recruit this young man that's on our current roster. So I've got great appreciation for what they bring. Obviously, I think as we move forward here, and we kind of blend the recruiting classes, you know, again, I just think they're all our guys now, including this 2018 class that we have coming in here. And the biggest thing is, do they fit how we want to play and how we want to do things on and off the floor?
Chris, how would you describe, I guess, the skill sets of Dwayne and Luther? Do you view them both as combo guards, as one more of a point and one more of a two guard? Just how do they complement each other and fit here?
Yeah, I don't know that I would. In talking about both Dwayne and Luther, they're both guards that have versatility to them, in particular because of their size, and Luther's versatility defensively is terrific. I really believe he can guard three positions for sure. And I think that they complement each other very well, I think, and we'll see because we obviously anticipate playing them together quite a bit. You know, Dwayne is a prolific shooter. He's he is a very capable shooter. He's high level when it comes to that, and he can make plays with the ball in his hands, and he can facilitate for others. Luther can as well. Luther is a paint touch guy, but he can also make threes, and he brings an edge and a competitiveness in how he plays on both ends. I really think they're going to complement each other well. I haven't, you know, people have asked me, hey, what position are they? And I think we just kind of look at them as you know, playmaking guards. And you know, we've talked plenty about the game has become a little bit more positionless, and there's great value now in versatility versus you do need a point guard, obviously, that has feel and can run your team. And which one of those two would fall more in line with that right now, I think it kind of remains to be seen. The thing I'm excited about is they can both play 2 or 3 perimeter positions when we, you know, because we're going to play a 3-guard lineup as well.
And I guess along the lines of versatility, Jaden seems like he's obviously very versatile from the 4 position as well. Is there potential for him to be like a 3-4 and a 5 in your system?
You know, I think that we'll play at times 2 forwards. So I think that, you know, his development's kind of interesting because he kind of grew up being a 3, and then he grew. And he grew both in height, and he grew in, you look at his frame, his body. So his dad has really worked with him on playing with his back to the basket and developing that game around the basket a little bit as he's become bigger and stronger. And he's done well with that. What he's really done, he's a prolific rebounder. But I think he's going to have to also continue to grow in the area of being versatile defensively. And that's what I'm continuing to challenge him with. But I do think offensively he can play multiple positions. And when we play, you know, 2 forwards, and we don't necessarily play a traditional post, because that'll happen at times. Everybody in college basketball does that now to a certain degree, where, you know, you're not playing a traditional 5-man the entire 40 minutes. I could see him being one of those 2 forwards we play.
Adam asked you about kind of this class coming together pretty quickly, and I know you had a big week back in September, and you've sort of touched on it already before, but now that you can put names on it, just how big was that week in terms of commitments and kind of the lead up to that week again? It
was really important, and it was, you know, obviously once I probably didn't answer that question very well from Adam. You know, once we were able to assess our needs, and once we were able to know what our staff was going to look like, it was an all-consuming effort to this recruiting class. And that's not unlike anybody who kind of starts a new job. What helped us is we did have some established relationships, but not everybody in this class came from established relationships that we had at Butler. So I just give our staff a lot of credit. I really do. I think the number of quality official visits that we had lined up in a short amount of time, and the fact that we were able to identify, and we were, you know, to be honest with you, the guys that we identified, all 4 of these, I would say we identified as a priority. We really did. And, you know, you know, there were others that we certainly prioritized it either because of timing or they chose another school. But these 4 we prioritized, and to be able to get them is exciting. But it was certainly all-consuming, and just feel really good that it was able to come together like it did. Obviously, you don't anticipate a week like that, but as I said back a couple weeks ago, and as I told my staff, hey, let's just keep doing what we're doing, and eventually there's going to be dividends that are going to pay off, because as we were hearing things from families based on their visits or how they felt about us, I knew it was just a matter of time. I know there was probably some panic among our fan base. I don't really pay attention to all of that, because there's panic. If you did, right, we could panic about everything. So I try not to pay attention to it, but I just felt like if we just kept doing what we were going to do, we were going to see some results.
Justin specifically, he had been committed before. What were his concerns when you were recruiting him? What concerns did he have in his commitment?
With Justin, it was just a matter of I got to know Justin's family pretty well because I recruited his brother when I was at Butler. So I got to know his dad and mom pretty well, but did not know Justin. For Justin, it was and we kind of told him this, and we were slow to the process. When we got the job, there was kind of a lot being thrown at us. Kids were close to making decisions, and we had heard, hey, this kid's close to making a decision, and it was like, we just wanted to take stock of where we were at, and if that meant we weren't able to get involved with some of the 18 kids, or that's fine. With Justin, we just said, once I realized that his process was going to be a little bit slower, we said that's great, because it'll give us a chance to understand, why he committed, and then look to open it up. And we got a great feel for that. And then it'll give him a chance to get to know us. And he'll get to see in how we follow him in July our commitment to him. And we saw, I always told him, I said we should have a trophy up in my office for the head coach that saw you play the most in July. I would get it for sure. So we wanted him to feel that. And, we really like what he's going to bring as kind of a versatile guard, wing, forward, whatever you want to call him. He's just a basketball player. But there was definitely for him a feeling out process on both of our ends. And it wasn't rushed, which is what I liked, and I think his family appreciated that too.
Moving on to just this season, we've talked about managing expectations and building a roster, but do you talk to your team about managing expectations? Because Micah and Cam come in here, they're very confident, and they just prove people wrong was kind of what Micah was talking about. So before you start this season, what's kind of your overall message to the team and the state of the program right now?
I think more than anything, just focus on the task at hand, and the task at hand right now is practice and preparation for Robert Morris, who's got some they're one of the toughest teams I've seen in recent memory on tape. They're physically tough. They play tough. They're incredibly scrappy. They have attacking players and skilled players, and they've got terrific athleticism. So I think for us it's a matter of really just being focused on the task at hand as much as anything. And, the whole idea of prove it, all that stuff's going to, I'm not honestly getting real caught up in that as much as let's just stay focused on what we're doing right now, and that's trying to get better. And that's going to be our continued focus. And hopefully out of that comes good stuff, and we'll get what we earn one way or the other. And I think the reality is we know we're a work in progress. We are. I think we saw that the other night. And I saw that, and I was reminded of that. And I need to continue to be reminded that we are going to be a work in progress. And hopefully if we do a good job as coaches and they do a good job as players, we'll continue to grow throughout the season.
Going off what you said about Robert Morris, last year they finished top 10 in the country in forcing turnovers per game. So how do you feel your team is prepared for that pressure, and what do you have to do to counter that? It's
going to be a great test for us. It's going to be a great test for us because I think that's you're right. They were 7th in the country in turnover percent, defensive turnover percentage, which is outstanding. It's really outstanding. They're active. Their entire defense is good. Like I said, they're athletic. They're very physical, very physical. So it's going to test our decision making, our ball handling, our ball, being sure with the ball and tough with the ball and making the right decisions. It's going to test us both inside and certainly going to test our guard play. So this is a great opportunity to kind of figure out, are we growing in that area?
Chris, you've mentioned before about maybe you use some of the Big Ten projections a little bit, show the guys where people think they're going to go. What do you do when Dan Dockich picks you guys to go to the Final Four?
Yeah, I'm reminded that his son plays on our team, and I love Dan. I don't have a chance to. I used to on lunch break, slide out and grab a sandwich real quick, and I'd turn him on, and sometimes it would be straight comedy relief. He's entertaining for sure, and I think he does a fantastic job. As a in radio and on TV, but I don't. We honestly have not talked to our guys about, we've never shown them a projection of where we were picked in the Big Ten. We've never done that. I've never done that. So whether it's good or bad, I think one way or the other, it's pretty irrelevant. I'm not saying by any means that stuff there's a purpose for that stuff, right? That gets dialogue about our game, and that's exciting. But in terms of what we're doing, it's pretty irrelevant. We haven't shown or talked about it as much. I think our guys know kind of what people have thought about this group, and again, we'll see. It depends on what we can do consistently, beginning with Friday.
Back to recruiting quickly, and you have 4 in this class. I think right now as it stands, you could have 5. How aggressive will you guys be in trying to fill that final spot?
Well, we'll be aggressive, but we in some ways, when we had those commitments in a matter of whatever it was, a week, we just took a step back. We had to cancel a couple official visits that we had planned. We can't. We were meeting one time as a staff, and we had all these official visits lined up, and we're sitting with 4 commitments. And we got assistant coaches who are saying, well, this guy, we can bring this guy here. I love how aggressive we're being, but we can't have an 8-member freshman class. And it's a reminder to all of us, myself, that we want to have balance in our classes, and if you have too many, it's hard, and that can potentially lead to transfers, and then you're back to square one in some way. So we want to have balance to our class. We will be aggressive in maybe adding one more freshman, but we may not too. We could potentially add one more freshman, but again, we may not. We could potentially add a graduate transfer in the spring. Right now, we're just kind of we're recruiting a couple, but we want to be patient. We want to make sure it's the right one.
On all the stuff that you've had to accomplish here and get your feet underneath you, you're still learning your team a little bit. Yeah. You're still getting ready for season, and you got to play 2 games in 3 days to get started. What can you go over in practice, and how do you prepare a team that you're still learning to play 2 teams in 3 days?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've been in this position before. When I was named interim at Butler, I had coached that team for a year. So I really did feel like I had a good, in a way, an advantage, a good feel for that. As I mentioned, we still as a staff are very much learning about this group. And I think we're going to learn as we play in close games. As we go through a couple losses, we're going to learn about our group. And we're as a coaching staff going to need to do a good job responding the right way. But it's a unique situation just because of the nature of this group and the fact that it's been since the fall that we've had a chance to work together. Now, we've had plenty of time, and I want us to be organized, and I expect us to be organized on offensive and defense. And if we're not, that's on me. That's my fault. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still a lot of things that I'm learning about our group, and we'll continue to learn as we move forward. So, yeah, it's been quite a couple days and quite a week. I just popped about 4 migraine Advil. So it's that time of year, people. Signing week and 2 games here in 3 days. So the stress level's high, and we're excited to get started.